Hello, and thank you for coming back to join me for another episode of The Doc is In. This is the first of our 3 episodes in the Love Cycle series. Tonight's episode is going to focus on self-care. A lot of people ask, well, what is self-care? Why it's important? I'm going to kind of go over all of that with you. I want to also point out that sometimes we don't realize that when we're talking about self-care, it also ties into self-esteem as well as self-love. So we're going to talk about all of those tonight. So first off, what is self-care? When we're talking about self-care, we're talking about the things that we do that benefit us directly. So it can fall under several different categories. It could be a physical self-care where literally just go and get your hands and feet done, getting enough sleep. That's one of the most basic forms of self-care: is sleep and hygiene. So taking a long shower, taking a nap when you need it, taking time off, and that's a big one as well. For all those workaholics out there, taking time off is a real big one because sometimes you just need that. Self-care can be psychological. It's that time to just reflect or meditate or pray or just give yourself positive affirmations of I'm enough, I'm good enough, I'm gonna have a great day. It can be emotional self-care. Engaging in things that, those protests that are for causes that mean something to you, having a hobby that you turn to that makes you feel proud of yourself. It could be buying yourself a little present, and I'm going to say a little one. It can be spiritual self-care, time in church, time to go out in the nature and reflect, yoga, playing with the kids. I remember a lot of people saying that they wanted to be baptized again because that felt good for them. Um, Fostering feelings that are centered around self forgiveness. A lot of us, man, beat ourselves over the head time and time again with the shouldas, couldas, and wouldas. I once heard this rhyme, and it's so corny, but I love it. And it says, should've and could've are words we don't use because they only depress us and give us the blues. Again, that is super corny, but I love it. Just the idea that when you're using words like should've, could've, and would've, what are you saying exactly? You're throwing out a scenario that you have no idea if these things would have happened or could have happened or should have happened, but you're using it to compare it against your reality. So, yeah, it's only used to really beat yourself over the head, and it's really not healthy. So remember that. Um, Personal self care can involve anything from time with friends, reading a book, making new friends, making a vision board, planning out your life. Professional self care, OMG. So, professional self care. For those workaholics, let's come back to that. Learning to say no. Saying no is totally okay. And I'm going to put that one under professional, but also personal. Learning to say no is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. There's no reward or award that you're going to get because you say yes to everything. Saying yes to everything oftentimes leaves you tired. It leaves you feeling taken for granted. It leaves you just feeling drained. And when you give all of yourself away, and you save nothing for home, then what happens? You drain yourself, you are exhausted of your resources, you're depleted all the time. Learn to say no. That is one of the biggest things for self-care that you can do. Always remember that. No. There's a power in saying no. And not only just saying it, but mean it when you say it. I heard Maya Angelou once say that there's a place inside of all of us that we should keep pristine. We should keep it clear and inviolate. Inviolate. The biggest thing about that is don't let people trample over who you are, and don't let circumstances overrun you as a person. Um, when you say no, say so, and let no be no and not feel that you owe someone an explanation. Um, you know, one thing I always come back to in my mind is as a kid, when you would have ask your parents for something and they would say no, and if you were one of the kids who were bold enough to say because why, ask why, because I mean, for some families you didn't ask why, no is no, the end and good night. But if you're one of the ones who are bold enough to ask why, oftentimes parents will just say, because I said so. And that was that. And although I hated that as a kid, as an adult, I totally get it. As an adult, if I say no, then it's no. And I don't owe you some lengthy explanation or cause. And that's be you family, friend, or foe. I mean, I don't have to explain as an adult why I choose or choose not to do something. That's just that. If I'm an adult and what I'm doing is not affecting you in any way, shape, or form, and to some extent, if it isn't affecting you negatively, then at the end of the day, my no is no. And I've said it, the end and good night. Um, Going back to the professional thing, leaving work at work. That's a big one. Don't take your work home. For a lot of us, you have enough stress and enough to deal with at work. Don't bring it home with you. Leave work at work. Take time for your lunch. If you're someone who has a lunch break built into your day, as many of us have what's technically a 9-hour day because they want you to take an hour for lunch, I'm sorry, but productivity be damned. Take your hour for lunch. And I'm a fan of saying leave the premises completely because people have a way of doing this thing where they will try and manipulate you into a working lunch. Oh, well, since you're going to be in the building anyway, can you do X, Y, or Z? No, I can't. I'm off the clock. I'm not being paid for it technically because this is an hour that I'm supposed to be away. So leave the building if you can. If you can't, go sit in your car. I have a coworker who I adore. She's the best. And I love the fact that she'll tell you, like, I'll go take a nap in my car. Do that. Do whatever you need to do to give yourself a minute away from what you're dealing with. Sitting at work for 8 hours and doing work for 8 hours straight with no break, with no mental break, that is difficult. And it's grating. And it's one of the things that makes people burn out on their chosen profession. You can love what you do, but especially for people in any medical field, for people in any customer service field, take your time, take the time that you need. I especially encourage my nurse friends, take your time, take that 30 minutes, take that hour, take whatever you need. And if you have a 12-hour shift and you have the smaller breaks, take those too. The fact of the matter is you're not gaining anything by working through your time. Give yourself those moments that you need. And when you're off work, be off work. I admire, supervisors and all who will be off for a week, but they're constantly checking in, checking emails. Kudos to you, but no, you really shouldn't do that. It shows a lack of work-life boundaries, and it's showing that you're allowing your work life to spill very deeply into your personal life. Let your family have you when you're off. They don't have you during the week. They don't have you during, the time when you're at work. So when you're away from work, let that be time away from work and let your family have you during that time. One of my favorite supervisors, I adore her so much. She's the sweetest. But if you text her for something and it's an off day, she will redirect you to the right person who's on site, who is working. That cracks me up, but I love it. I think it's the best thing ever. Keep yourself in a don't be afraid to put yourself in a bubble when you need to be. Vacation time is your time. Off time is your time. Learn how to appreciate that and enjoy it. I am a clinician, so of course I'm a fan of mental health days. Maybe you're not sick, but you just don't need to be at work that day. If you know that going to work is going to cause you to spill a negative aura onto other people, if it's going to make the situation worse and not better, stay home. And for those people who go to jobs every day and put their negativity on everybody, please understand something. If you don't want this job, get a new job. It's a beautiful thing. Like, you're an adult, you're a grown up. If you don't like what you do, or if you don't like your work environment, you don't like your coworkers, whatever, go get yourself a new job and get something that you want to do so that maybe there'll be some happiness about you when you get there. So, anyway, I'll walk away from that one. So also, I think it's important that you understand the difference between real self-care versus fake, self-care. Um, Going out to a bar and drinking yourself happy is not self-care. I'm sorry. Drugs, not self-care. Sorry. Being healthy, yes, that is self-care. Maybe exercising, yeah, that is self-care. But dieting and trying to force yourself smaller and all this stuff, that's not self-care. That's restricting for you, and it's nothing that you look forward to. Self-care should be something that you're looking forward to. Um, Shaming yourself into being thin or being different, um, saying yes because you want people to like you. Um, I mean, just buying things because in your mind, oh, I'm gonna look good in this so other people will like me more. No, 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 no. This is about you liking you and you being good to you. So be mindful of that. Like, engage in activities that allow you to be good to yourself. The thing about life in general, and I'll go into this in the next video, is we teach other people how to treat us. When people see how you treat yourself, that's a reflection of how they are going to treat you. If you're walking around looking bedraggled and tore down, like life has run you over, people will treat you as such. Um, Unfortunately, I've had instances where I've had coworkers who, you know, there's one that comes to mind where I met her and she's a sweet person. She's a kind person. But I was always like, man, what's going on? Like, her hair's like, she come to work, her hair's in a snatch back. She wears like the same thing all the time. And again, this is no, I'm not downing her by any means, but I'm just telling you what I saw. And then I saw pictures of her from earlier in her career, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? And I wasn't being funny. I really was concerned. And then when it was explained to me that, there were a lot of family issues that took place and so many things that happened, I was like, oh my God, literally she's wearing her emotions. She's wearing the depression. She's wearing the anxiety on her. It is very, very, very difficult when you're a patient and you have a physician who's not engaging in self-care. I will always tell you, would you go to a barber or a beautician who had a jacked up head? You're not, you're going to be like, wait a minute, your hair looking like that and you trying to get my head? No, thank you. I'm going to go down the street to Juanita's bumper curl or whatever. You know, be mindful of the image that you're projecting of yourself, because what you're projecting to others is what you feel about you. So if you don't take time in the morning to pull yourself together and you go out looking like nothing, that's really what you feel about yourself. All of that is just a visual representation of what you feel about you. A lot of people ask why they need self-care. Let me say this. When you have dealt with low self-esteem, self-care is important because it amplifies the self-love. It helps you manage your emotions, like anger and grief. It helps you to overcome fears, believe it or not. Um, when you are constantly feeling like less than, when you invest in yourself and practice those stress relievers and whatnot, it helps you feel calm. It puts you in control, and it also gives you a second to reflect on how to solve problems that you're dealing with. If I want to say this, especially for moms, self-care helps you to renew your energy, and it helps you to be better in the long term. Moms have this thing of like, I give, I give, I give, and that makes me a great mom because I give until I have nothing left. The thing about that is you cannot pour from an empty jug. You have to give yourself a minute to refresh. I don't care if that's 10 minutes alone in the bathroom, where you take a bath or a shower alone without the kids beating on the door. I don't care if that's just a quiet ride in the car where you can think to yourself. Um, it can be whatever it is that gives you a minute to reflect quietly and rebuild yourself. Self care is so important. Um, don't allow yourself to be so selfless that you begin to see self care as selfish. Self care is not selfish. Self care is a necessity to continue forward. If you never put your cell phone back on the charger, it's gonna die. And unfortunately, we're built very similar. If we don't give ourselves that moment to recharge, if you don't give yourself that moment to remember all the things you love about you, you quickly fall into decline. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you become overwhelmed. And this is when we start seeing psychological breakdowns and mental breakdowns and people being just stressed to, and developing that anxiety. This week, I encourage you, love on yourself. For as much as we like to turn our Valentine's love to others, love yourself this week. Do something special for you. Get something special for you because you are worth it and you deserve it. All right? Love yourself. Love somebody else. But first off, love yourself this week. All right? Have a great one. Thank you so much for tuning in.